Hey, what's up, y'all? I know it's been a while, but just been busy. Life, work, didn't feel like doing any videos or writing or much of anything. But I've watched a lot of movies and I've pretty much caught up on all the big movies of 2012. There's a few that slipped through the cracks I still want to see. I still want to see, for instance, Killing Them Softly, Not Fade Away. I still gotta watch that. But for the most part, I've seen all the big ones, all the Oscar nominees, and I think I have not seen The Hobbit. I will see The Hobbit. I don't really want to see The Hobbit. Don't care. It's not gonna. No matter what it is, I doubt it would change what I'm about to do right now, which is my list of my top 10 best films of 2012, favorite, best, however you want to slice it. Um, and of course, there's a few that deserve honorable mention. Maybe I'll mention them at the end, as well as a few others. But let's just get into the list. I don't want to go too long with this. Number 10 is The Gray. That, of course, is the Liam Neeson versus Wolves movie from early last year. I believe last January. It's basically Liam Neeson works for like an oil company out in like Antarctica or something, and he gets in a plane, like him and some of the crew get in a plane crash, and they're stuck in the wilderness on their own, freezing cold, and there's wolves hunting them down. Now that's one that a lot of people thought was unrealistic. I wouldn't know. I'm no expert on survival or wolves or any of that shit. It's the same thing with Frozen. I don't care. I thought it was a great movie. Really enjoyed it. I thought the cinematography was beautiful. Uh, just the way it was shot kind of reminded me of like a 70s like survival film, or just reminded me of certain films from the 70s for some reason. The way it was shot, movies like Deliverance or The Deer Hunter. And plus, it was just a bit deeper than what you would expect. It was advertised as Liam Neeson versus Wolves, and I know that pissed some people off that it wasn't quite that. That there's a little more meat on the bone, so to speak. But I like that. I like the little philosophical bent to it, um, and I liked the ending. I thought the ending was perfect. Like all around, I was generally very surprised by the movie, and I love it, and that's why it makes number 10. What else do I got? Number 9. This will be high on many people's lists. It's not high on mine, but it made it. Zero Dark 30. Um, the new movie from Catherine Bigelow, who made The Hurt Locker. This one is about the 10-year manhunt for Osama bin Laden, mostly focusing on a girl called Maya, played by Jessica Chastain. She's a, I believe, CIA agent who is like solely focused and dedicated on finding bin Laden. I think she was based on a real person, or she's a composite of some people. I don't know. This is another one where people let the facts get in the way of whether the movie's good or not. I don't care. It's not a documentary. And now that Catherine Bigelow and others have claimed that it is a journalistic piece, so maybe it deserves some of the criticisms for bending the truth. I don't care. I thought it was a good movie. It's a bit slow, it drags. It's basically a procedural where it's, how they put the pieces together to find bin Laden, and then it ends with a very exciting, like, last 40 minutes where they raid the compound. That part was just really well done, very intense. It's a slow burn up until then, but I was invested and interested in it. I mean, I'm into the subject matter. I remember 9/11. I remember shortly after 9/11 having a shirt that says "Dead Man Walking" with a picture of Bin Laden on it. Well, it took about 10 years, but more than 10 years, or whatever. I don't know. Anyways, like I said, very good movie. The only thing about it for me is, and good cast. Besides Jessica Chastain, you had, the dude from Friday Night Lights. You had James Gandolfini, who I really liked in it. A bunch of TV, like Jason Clarke, who was on the Chicago Code. A bunch of TV actors. just a good cast. But anyways, the thing about it for me is, while it's extremely well done, I just love the Hurt Locker more. I think it told a more personal story. Uh, I was just more involved in what happened in the Hurt Locker. But I mean, overall, Zero Dark 30 is very good. It's number 9. Number 8. This is a weird one. It's called the Snowtown Murders. It's from Australia. I don't remember the director of any. I don't have anything up here on IMDb. I'm just winging it. But it's available on Netflix. That's how I watched it, and it's kind of like, all right. Well, basically, it's about Australia's most notorious serial killer, and it was basically this guy. I can't remember his name now. I want to say his name was John Bunting. But what he did is he basically, like in the film, as well as I believe in real life, he's a serial killer who kind of invades this family, like it's like a single mom and her kids, and wins them over with his charisma, and he seems like a nice, strong guy. Like, little they know that he's completely psychotic, and then under the guise of like vigilantism, he forces them to help him kill people, which is just beyond, like, serial killer movie right off the bat kind of starts off being a bit disturbing, just based on the subject matter. But this takes it a whole step further, as essentially innocent people are forced to go along with doing very terrible things to their neighbors, to strangers, to one another. It's kind of like, how did I describe it to my one friend? It's kind of like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer meets, what the hell is that other Australian movie that was really twisted? Animal Kingdom. I know a lot of people will probably like Animal Kingdom more, and a lot of people will fucking hate the Snowtown Murders. It's very slow. It starts off really slow. It's hard to understand what the people are saying sometimes because it's Australian. But once it gets going, there's just I couldn't turn away. There are scenes of brutality and torture, and I don't want to spoil any of the big ones. But there's one scene early on where this guy forces his stepson to kill his dog. The guy forces the stepson to kill his dog. It's just utterly, the kid's like, what? He's like, here, take the gun, do it. Stop being a pussy. Don't let people push you around. And that scene alone is pretty disturbing, but there is far more disturbing stuff to come in the Snowtown Murders. Despite the fact that it's very disturbing and graphic and just horrible, utterly bleak. There's not one ray of sunshine in this movie. It's also really well made and well directed, well acted, just well done. So you might hate it, but you have to kind of admit it's well put together. Maybe some pacing issues, but I felt like once it got going, I was really into it. The thing about it for me, I remember when I first finished watching it, I was like, I don't know if that was a good movie, but goddamn, it was powerful. And the thing about it is, it has not left I saw it like 2 months ago. It hasn't left my mind since. I just keep thinking about certain scenes, and just like, it made quite the impression on me. And it's just one that if you're into movies about serial killers, or you're into horror, even though it's not necessarily horror, give it a shot. Your mileage definitely may vary. You may hate it. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. So, at number 7 we have Argo. This is the one that's directed by Ben Affleck, also starring him as a CIA agent once again. This is also a true story. He tries to rescue, like, I think it's like 6 or 7 Americans from Iran during the Iran conflict or whatever it was, of, like, I think in 1979. Sorry, I'm a little rusty on that. They explain it actually well in the very beginning of the movie. They explain the setup, like the history of the country and what's going on there. So that, like, unlike a lot of these, like, very detail-oriented political movies and stuff, where if you go in blind, you might be lost if you don't know the subject matter. They explain it to you well up front. But that aside, it's just a really just well done movie once again from Ben Affleck, who has yet to make a single even slightly bad movie as a director. Um, it's just well done. It tells an interesting, real story, and basically the way they go in to go save these people is they pretend they're a Hollywood production crew going to shoot some B movie like Star Wars ripoff called Argo. And one of the great lines in it is "Argo, fuck yourself," which I won't totally ruin, but if you think about it, you'll figure it out. Um, yeah, just a really well done movie and surprisingly funny, and lots of bits poking fun at Hollywood. So I think people really enjoyed that. It's surprisingly funny for what is otherwise a pretty gripping, intense real life drama, or based on real life drama. So Argo, again, it's another one where, like, with Catherine Bigelow, I loved Her Locker more. With Argo, I like The Town. I think The Town is Ben Affleck's best movie, but this is also quite good. I will say that, like, in their respective years, I thought that The Hurt Locker was the best year of whatever year. I think 2008. I think that The Town was the best film of 2011. Number 6 is We Need to Talk About Kevin. This is the one that it's like an evil child movie, starring Tilda Swinton, and two different boys play her son at different ages. Basically, she has the child from hell. What's his name is the husband, John C. Reilly. They meet, they fall in love. They don't show that part really, but she has a kid from hell. The kid is a hell spawn from day one, all the way up until he commits real evil. And the film kind of cuts back and forth, and starts off after a very terrible incident, and it cuts back and forth between mom, Tilda Swinton, dealing with the aftermath of what her son did, to when he was a kid and growing up and showing what a little bastard he was as a kid. And unlike the usual evil child film, this is not a straight thriller or horror film. It approaches the material as a drama, which is really interesting. I think the payoff is great. I think the last 10 minutes of it are some of the most haunting moments in a film all last year. It's in my opinion, it's a horror drama, and as such, it's one of the best horror films we've gotten in a long time. So definitely check that one out if you haven't already. Number 5, this one really, really surprised me. It's Flight from director Robert Zemeckis. I think it's one of his best movies. This is another one that the advertisements are a little misleading, but basically it's about Denzel. Let's just call him Denzel. I don't know what his name was in the movie. Denzel Washington. He's like this. He's a pilot, but he's also, serious drunk and a drug addict, and an alcoholic. And it's a movie. It's a drama about alcoholism. But unlike a lot of movies that we've seen about this, it turns it into an entertainment. So unlike a couple of movies that come to mind, like Clean and Sober, or God, I can't even remember some of the other ones. But there's a whole bunch of them out there about sobriety and alcoholics reaching the end of the rope and all that. And Flight is essentially just another one of those, except Flight is very entertaining. Part of that is due to just Denzel Washington delivering like a riveting performance. Absolutely convincing. He deserves, I think, some awards. I mean, he's always good, but he's especially good here. And he plays this drunk pilot who his plane malfunctions. They're gonna crash, and he somehow pulls a crazy stunt, some crazy pilot moves, and he lands the plane. Well, doesn't land the plane, but he crashes it safely enough so that only like 6 people die out of like 150 people on board or whatever. And that's the beginning of the movie. That's the opening sequence is the crash, and it's just awesome. Like, just amazing first 20 minutes of a movie. And then from there, they, you know, he's the hero, oh my God, this guy's saved the day. And then, the blood that they pull from him after the crash turns out there's a bunch of cocaine, and he has a blood alcohol content of like 0.224 or something crazy. And so the way the plot kind of functions is there's that happens, and then the rest of the movie is him trying to like cover up the lie, cover up like that he got away with flying a plane very drunk, probably hundreds of times. And him trying to get away with it, and him trying to hide the fact that he is an alcoholic. And it turns very serious, could be dry subject matter into it's very entertaining. You have that awesome opening sequence. Denzel's a lot of fun to watch. A lot of it is just how he's a badass drunk. It could be like argued that the film kind of glorifies alcoholism a little bit, because like I don't want to spoil it, but like there are a lot of scenes in this movie where he's just really awesome when he's drunk, or he comes back from almost being passed out. He starts lying. He's awake and he could do anything, and he could go answer questions and this and that. But just a very entertaining, well done film. Very surprising. I did not expect it to be that good. I didn't even expect it to be exactly what it was. So, and no, it did not convince me to quit drinking Miller Lite. So, shit's like water, anyways, right? Or smoke. Or quit smoking. Anyways, number 4, Jeff Who Lives at Home. This is from the Duplass brothers. It's basically Jason Segel plays a stoner who lives in his mom's basement. The mom is played by, her name slips my mind right now. Older actress, red hair. You know who I'm talking about. I don't know. If it'll come to me, it'll come to me. But he's sitting at home one day, and she's at work, and she calls, and all she wants for her birthday is him to get out of the damn basement, go out, and buy some wood glue so he could fix the pantry in the kitchen. That's all she wants. So he goes out, and leads to adventure. He runs into his slightly more successful brother, played by Ed Helms, who his marriage is starting to fall apart, and Jason Segel kind of helps him out with that, as well as perhaps finding some meaning to his own life or some purpose. And it just really surprised me. It's just a really, really feel good movie. Just a lot of heart, and it works. Like I think it's probably the best movie from the Duplass brothers. It really is, and it's just. You have to have a pretty hard, cold heart to not fall for this one. Just such a happy ending. It makes you happy. It makes you just a positive outlook on life. You can do no wrong by watching Jeff Who Lives at Home. It really, it's just a really feel good movie, but it earns its feel goodness. It does it with just the right touch. And that one, as well as a few others on this list, I probably should have mentioned this at the top. I'll just mention it now. They're technically not 2012 releases, but, Zero Dark 30, well, I guess it is a 2012 movie, but most people won't see it till 2013. But in much the same sense, We Need to Talk About Kevin and Jeff Who Lives at Home, they were 2011 movies that no one really saw until 2012, so they might as well be. So that's how they make the list. I make my own rules. It's my list. So probably should have put that disclaimer at the top, but oh well. Number 3 is Game Change from, I believe the director's name is Jay Roach. And this is the movie about the 2008 presidential election campaign. Specifically, McCain's campaign and the decision to go with Sarah Palin as vice presidential running mate. and it was an HBO film that just recently, I believe, got released on DVD. And if you are into politics at all, or you remember the 2008 election and you were invested in that election, you really need to see it. It's just extremely well done inside baseball. Just an awesome inside account based on real reporting by, I forgot the two guys' names, but the book is called Game Change. And just besides being, I think, you're very balanced, just sticking to the facts. I mean, I'm sure it does some things for dramatic purposes, but it's not there to judge anybody in it. Maybe Sarah Palin a little bit, but she comes off as slightly sympathetic at times. It wants to be a document of what happened, of the reporting that resulted from these guys that did the book, and just tells a good story without judging really anybody. And it's well acted all around. Of course, Julianne Moore is great as Sarah Palin, but and what's Ed Harris is pretty damn great as McCain. And McCain is, if you're gonna skip this movie because you're partisan and you're conservative and they're just gonna bash the Republicans, McCain is extremely likable in it, which just like I think he is in real life sometimes. But he's painted as a very just smart older politician who likes to kind of go his own way, the Maverick. Um, but I think the best performance, and the guy has not gotten enough props, not enough awards for it, is what's his name, Woody Harrelson as Steve Schmidt, the guy that came in as a campaign advisor that they hired on, who I believe used to work for Bush, and who, if you watch enough cable news, you see him all the time. He's the bald guy with I think he's got a little goatee. But Woody Harrelson just does a great job as him in this. There's just scenes between him and Julianne Moore as Sarah Palin that are just electric and awesome. And just the way you see like the decisions they made, like they were at a crucial point in their campaign. They had to do something. This was really their only play, and even though it was their only play, it was the wrong play to go with Sarah Palin, because shortly after they went with her, and they're like, this lady's great, she could work the camera, she could give a speech, she's going to ignite our base. They quickly realized that she didn't know anything, and that's not a disputable fact. She doesn't know a lot about the world. And it was just a great, if you, I was really into the 2008 campaign, more so than any other campaign, and just to get this look at it, at the backroom antics and strategizing and total failures of the McCain campaign, it was just a treat to see, and it's just really well done without a lot of preaching or real politics in it. It's just a smart movie about what happened, and I think I went on about that enough, but that's definitely worth seeing. It was my, halfway through the year, it was my movie of the year, but one movie kind of overtook it as time went on, and another one popped up near the end of the year. So at number 2 is Chronicle, which I used to have behind Game Change about halfway through the year. But Chronicle, I watched it a couple times, and it's awesome. Completely fun, original, breezy, nice and short, original superhero movie. How often is that going to happen? Every superhero movie you're going to get is going to be based off of some comic. But no, this one's completely original, and it's better than all of them. I'll take Chronicle over The Dark Knight Rises, and I'll take it over The Avengers any fucking day. Sorry, fanboys and girls. It's a better film. It's just, it gets to the point, it's shorter, it's more fun, and it's completely original. Getting ahead of myself here, it's the one about 3 high school kids who, one night late at a party, they stumble off in the woods. They find this strange glowing object under the ground, and the next day they wake up with superpowers, basically telekinesis, the ability to move stuff with their mind. And we follow them as they record it, and as they fool around with their powers and they improve their powers. And I don't really want to say much more than that, because it takes some really great classic comic book turns as it goes along. And it has a very, I think, sympathetic villain. And once it takes off, like the first 25, 30 minutes is just them having fun. You'll see it in the trailer. They go around the supermarket and they're messing with people, making like a teddy bear fly off the shelf. But once it turns, once, you know, the plot kicks in and the protagonist and the antagonist and, you know, the conflict are introduced, it really takes off. The wow moments keep coming in Chronicle for the rest of its brief duration. It's only 87 minutes, and it's tight, compact, you know, it's dense and fun. Just so many wow moments, from when the one kid stands up to his dad to when he picks up a spider with his mind. Just so many great moments to when he decides to finally do something to help his mom, like, and it really goes crazy. And like this movie that you think is super low budget. I think they shot it for 10 million. In the last 20 minutes, turns into an awesome, like sorry, spoilers a little bit. Turns into like this awesome special effects, like, action movie, just awesome action packed ending. So Chronicle blew me away. It was my number one for the last couple months. I thought for sure Chronicle was going to be my number one. I just think I've watched it like 4 or 5 times, just showing it to other people. Immensely rewatchable. It's always great to show it to people and watch them, you know, discover like its secrets and the way, because you don't expect it to unfold the way. You don't expect it to turn into like this awesome, crazy, like, special effects superhero movie. I feel like I'm forgetting something I wanted to say about it, but I mean, and it is a found footage film, and it does really brand new things with that whole genre. Just the fact that they can control the camera with their minds and have the camera float around them while they're talking without thinking about it allows it to be still a found footage film and yet still be very cinematic. So that, I think, is a big deal right there. But anyways, that's my thoughts on Chronicle. I really love it. It's, like I said, it was my favorite until my number one film of 2012 came out, and that is Django Unchained. And I've always been a fan of Tarantino, but, you know, the last couple movies for me, Inglourious Bastards, I thought it was a snooze fest. Death Proof, I thought was boring as shit. Like, I didn't, like, yeah, it got good at the end, but it was still an hour and a half of boring before that. Like, I remember I saw Grindhouse in the theater, and I'm like, why did they put Death Proof after whatever the Robert Rodriguez was? What was it? Planet Terror. Planet Terror should have been the second feature. That one moves along. They even cut out the boring parts for you. It was. I loved seeing Grindhouse in the theater, but like, that still bothers me that they didn't figure out that the Tarantino one should have been first. Anyways, so like, that's 2 right there. I think suck. Kill Bill Volume 2, I didn't really care for. I love the first one. I think the first one is one of his best movies, but 2, I was like, it was kind of boring. Like, it just didn't have like the spark and the magic and the creativity of the first one, sadly enough, even though it was supposed to be one movie, so I don't know how one half the movie just wasn't as good. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is I like Tarantino, but his track record recently has not been the greatest. I think Django Unchained is one of his very best films. I might put it up there even with, it's easily the best one since Kill Bill Volume 1, but I might even put it up there with Pulp Fiction, or my favorite Tarantino film, which is actually a Tony Scott film, but Tarantino wrote it, True Romance. Django is up there, man. It's Tarantino back, better than ever, matured, and, you know, but still very much a Tarantino flick. It's lots of delicious dialogue, lots of talking, lots of style, and then it punctuated with extremely over-the-top violence. That's what Django Unchained is, but it's doing it in a new genre, the Western, and it's doing it with very touchy subject matter of, you know, slavery, which is a huge part of American history. So it's Tarantino tackling a lot and maybe biting off more than he could chew, except not at all. He fucking nails it. He knocks it out of the park. I think Spike Lee, I like his movies, but he's a fucking idiot for criticizing Tarantino without seeing it. Um, my thoughts on the whole N-word, use of the N-word in it, is that that's how people talked. And, that being said, Tarantino always uses that word in his movies, but guess what? That's how people talk. Sorry, Spike Lee, people talk that way. And you don't have an authority on who gets to make movies about, or movies that use that word. Sorry. Anyways, back to Django. It's basically Jamie Foxx plays Django. He gets essentially freed by this bounty hunter played by Christoph Waltz. And the reason Christoph Waltz does this is because he knows Django knows what one of his targets looks like. So he figures if he frees Django and brings him along, he could help him point out the guys that he has to kill. And then in return, Django gets his freedom, but they end up, having such a good partnership and relationship in general that Christoph Waltz decides to help Django go find his wife and free her as well. And it's a long movie. It does slow down and drag a little bit in the middle, but I was never bored because the dialogue is always just so good from Tarantino. And the actors, like especially Christoph Waltz, is just amazing with Tarantino dialogue. And he's great here as this bounty hunter who's essentially a really good guy. And I think I even liked him more as a good guy here than as a bad guy in Inglourious Basterds. And I think he was one of the bright spots of Inglourious Basterds. But he's just even better here. Very likable. Gives a great performance. I think he deserves some, at least nominations. I don't know if he, like I said, I don't have IMDb up with all the info, but if he got nominated, he deserves it. And while the movie does drag a little bit in the middle, like I said, I was never bored. And once you get to the payoff at the end, it's just great. The action in it is just awesome. The violence is, like, people when they get shot in this movie, they explode buckets of blood, literally. Like a one shot just explodes, and it's just a great time at the movies. And I think it's just the best made movie. And then I should also mention other people that are good in it. Samuel L. Jackson as kind of an Uncle Tom-like character. Leonardo DiCaprio, who is great in it as, I think his name's Calvin Candy, this sadistic plantation owner who likes to watch slaves fight each other to the death, and then they bet on it and stuff. And which is just weird. Spike Lee wants to criticize this movie. I never knew that existed. I mean, it makes sense. Yeah, of course they would do something like that, but I never knew that was a thing. And because of Django Unchained, I now know that people used to do that, where they would have these slaves fight each other and they bet on it like a cockfight or a dog fight. Terrible. And you want to criticize Tarantino for being racist? He brought out a very dark part of American history here that I would not have otherwise known about. And it's never like Tarantino's like, slavery is a good thing. Slavery is depicted as completely evil throughout. Anyways, sorry to keep, getting slightly off topic on this, but just a really, really well done movie. It's very entertaining, and yet while its only aim is to entertain, it really, touches on some dark parts of American history, and I think a meaningful and a significant way. But it does so in the pursuit of entertainment, which is great. And great performances from everyone in it. Great dialogue, great action. DiCaprio, there's one scene, watch for it, he acts like, it's really weird because you're like, how does his hand start bleeding? He hit his hand on the table so hard it started bleeding in real life. And DiCaprio just went with the scene, and he used the blood. Like, they kept filming, and DiCaprio used the blood to great effect. But it was not planned at all. Um, and I just think the thing about Django Unchained, I think it is the best film of the year, of last year, but I think it's also the film that defines 2012. Like when you go back and look at 2012, the first movie that's going to stick out in your mind as the biggest movie of that year, as the one that really defined the year, is going to be Django. In my opinion, it has to be Django. And I think it's a movie that has the longest shelf life out of any movie that released last year. So that's my list. I went on way longer than I thought I would. I plan to get it all down in written form at some point when I'm not feeling lazy, which is never. Um, Honorable mentions, do I have any? Sure. I like The Dark Knight Rises. I like The Avengers. Um, Lincoln, I gotta be honest, kind of boring. Um, I don't know. I'm sure there's some that I'm forgetting. Prometheus, I enjoyed. There's some out there hanging around. I mean, it was generally a pretty good year for movies. Couple, I'm gonna surprise at the end here. A couple movies I thought were terrible. Some of the worst of the year. I haven't really thought out like a full list of worst of the year movies. I try to avoid bad movies since I'm not like a paid critic or anything. But a couple that stood out to me as truly awful. One is called The Impossible. It stars Ewan McGregor and Naomi Watts. It's about a real tsunami that happened, I think in like... I'm sorry, I'm terrible on this. I must seem like I not know history at all here, but I think it's like 2004, 2006. There's like a tsunami in Thailand, I think. Anyway, this rich English couple and their family, there's this nice resort there, let's say Thailand. The tsunami hits, and then the rest of the movie is like this struggle. It's a survival film after that in a disaster zone, and it's so fucking odd. It's so like the disaster elements are really well done and really brutal, like really like, and also beautiful, like amazing. Like if anything, this movie deserves awards for special effects. Although so does Flight, and I think Flight should win because not only does it have great special effects, it's a good movie. But like the part when the tsunami hits is crazy, crazy good. And then there's parts, just the survival parts, where they're just trying, like, I need water, I need to somehow get out of here. Those parts are great. Rest of it, really bad, really bad. It's I'm gonna try to find my initial reaction to it really quick. I remember putting something up on Facebook, which I think kind of nicely summed it up. I said it's a borderline awful and cheesy and slightly racist feel-good movie set against the stunning brutality of a natural disaster. Well acted and directed, but it veers wildly from depicting the grim reality of the tsunami and telling a sentimental fairy tale about a white family that deserves to survive. And I said it's based on a true story. It is based on a true story. But it doesn't make it any better of a film to say that, oh, it actually happened. It's like you have these thousands and thousands of people dead, but these, 4 white people, they deserve to live. I don't know why. You might say, well, whatever, but and that's not necessarily racist just because they're white. It was a true story. Well, it was a true story, but I think the actual family was like, Spanish or something, so they did change them to white people, and just those like the subtextual stuff is not the worst of it. The worst of it is that just like one half of it is just depicting this grim reality, as I said. The other half is just like this fairy tale, like this terrible like Hallmark greeting card, like feel good, like extremely corny, just cheesy, like they really love each other, and because of their love they're gonna pull through, and they're all gonna find each other again because they're looking for each other so hard. And just some scenes are just painfully melodramatic and cheesy. Like there's one part, like this kid and his mom, they've survived. They don't know where the rest of their family is. They're in a hospital, and she's like, "Oh, I don't, you can't do anything for me here. You should go help other people." And the kid's like, "What? What am I supposed to go do?" She's like, "Just go help them." And he like goes out and like, he starts walking up to other victims in the hospital, and they're like, "I'm looking for my brother. I'm looking for my daughter." And like he's going around with a notepad, and he like, he's trying to find people. And he, like the list of people he's looking for keeps getting longer and longer, and he's going around and he's like going into every room and reading off all the names, and then he finally finds someone, and he reunites them with his dad, and it's so fucking bad. So bad. So stupid. God, is it awful. There's like another scene like that where like there's a boy early on that they find in the movie, and they bring him to the hospital with them, and then the kid later, like, he sees the kid out like in a hallway or something, and the kid has reunited with his family, and he runs back to his mom, and he's like, "Mom, I just wanted to tell you, he found him, and he looked so happy." And I'm just like, this is so bad, dude. Like, the situation in itself is dramatic enough that like you didn't have to go over the fucking top with it like that. It's just, I know some people like it's a movie that is like a tearjerker. Like it tries really hard. It wants you to cry so bad, and it's gonna work. Some people, it's gonna work. Every little note will feel true, and it will work for them. For me, like it was part like really riveting survival tale, and then the other half of it was so bad that it's definitely one of my worst of the year. Despite it being like really well acted and just beautiful to look at, and like, I love survival movies when they get, hardcore on you, and this definitely does, but it's just, it's fucking like split personality disorder, this movie. Not to go on too long here, and I've gone on very long, but might as well just throw a few out there I also thought sucked. I thought Killer Joe, the new William Friedkin movie, and I like him. I like Bug. I like The Exorcist. I thought that Killer Joe was fucking terrible. A dumb movie about dumb people. It's basically like this kid, he owes some money to a drug dealer or some shit, so he convinces his dad to help him kill his mom so they could get the insurance money. And if that's not awful enough, they hire on a hitman played by Matthew McConaughey, who is the only bright spot in this movie. But it's just, the movie's so goddamn repulsive. And I say this is someone that put Snowtown Murders on my top 10. It's just, this movie's just an ugly, dumb fucking movie. At least Snowtown Murders had some smarts to it, right? And it's just so just dumb and unlikable. And it comes to a what the fuck, who cares ending. And it's rated NC-17, and it's really not that bad. Like, the only thing I could figure, like, the only scene in it that I thought like might have pushed the boundaries is Matthew McConaughey forcing Gina Gershon to suck off a drumstick, like a chicken leg. And that gives you an idea of what you're getting into with that one. That movie's fucking dumb. Another one, and this will be it, this is already getting way long, but one of the worst films of the year. I was hoping for a comeback from Oliver Stone. I did not get that in Savages. Savages is basically Breaking Bad done by an imbecile. It's just terrible. It's like these two brothers. I don't know if they're brothers or I think they're two friends. They like somehow figure out a way to grow the best pot ever. Which is already like, it's already so corny and stupid. Like, oh, their pot's better than all the rest. Whatever. And then like somehow they get, entangled with the cartel from Mexico, and like these two guys, really odd plot point, like they both share the same girlfriend, like they both love her and they all know about it. It's like a open relationship or a poly, whatever the fuck you want to call it, type relationship. And like I think the girl gets kidnapped by the cartel, and like they're trying to like, I don't know, I fucking forgot the movie already. Like, I'll say Selma Hayek is pretty good in it as the leader, like the boss of the cartel. But like the rest of the movie is just awful. Even what the fuck, Dogface Benicio, he plays like, bad guy for the cartel. Even he's like kind of just whatever in it. The movie just fucking awful. just terrible. I mean, listen to the things I tell you already. It's about the best pot dealers, whatever, who get, you know, whatever with the mob, and they both share a girlfriend, and they're all cool about it, and then the girlfriend gets kidnapped, and everything fucking sucks. Fuck Savages. I don't even know if I said the name of the movie yet. Savages. It's called Savages from Oliver Stone. It's fucking awful. That's my take on, you know, 2012 at the movies. I'm sure I'm leaving some out that I really enjoyed. Um, and I'm sure I'm leaving a couple that out that I really thought sucked. Oh, Project X. That's another one that comes to mind that sucked ass. Was that 2012? I don't know. I'm sure I left some out, but I remembered to leave in my 10 favorite, which is really what this one's about. So let me know what you think of the movies on my list, or your thoughts on any of the movies I mentioned today. And, you know, let me know if I don't know. Hopefully I added a few to your list that you haven't seen yet or whatever. Share your thoughts, share your top 10, all that. Thanks for watching, of course. Don't know when I'll be doing another one of these again, but at least the last few I've done, I've given you like a full podcast to fucking listen to. And whether I come back anytime soon or not, I do promise, because there's a lot of people that watch these videos, I promise I will do the Breaking Bad reactions when that wraps up this summer. So if you don't see till then, it's been fun, and like I said, thanks for watching.